My name is Sven Stromberg. I'm a Swedish journalist working with television. And at that time in '71, I was a reporter for our major news bulletin in Sweden, in Swedish TV, Aktuellt. And when the really war broke out when India went into action, I was sent to Calcutta, and we established base there, worked together with Danish television. So I was a reporter, observer, and followed the events from that on and up till Sheikh Mujibur Rahman arrived here in Dhaka and some days after that. When the real war started, the 3rd of December, we were sent down to Calcutta from Sweden. And we arrived there and established base together with Danish television and some other also European colleagues. And well, it was established very good cooperation with the Bangladesh exile government, and also the Indian army had very good press relations, and they had an office there, so we could get arrangements for traveling into Bangladesh at several times and several locations, and there was sort of expeditions going in there, and we went to Khulna the day they were liberated. And there were fighting going on, and we went into the city there, and then the Indian army came in and took over completely. And when people realized that they were liberated, there was so much tension, and they started to chase, collaborators, and there were people killed around us, and we had to take refuge, sort of, and were taken away by an Indian officer in a jeep, because people were so very upset, and they wanted to take revenge. And we saw several cases of where they killed collaborators. So. And we went outside Khulna. There was a field where they had taken some 12,000 West Pakistani troopers as prisoners of war. And they, when General Aurora Singh arrived there by helicopter and was received like a god coming there, and I remember there was huge piles of weapons on that field, and we could also see, all the material there was sort of a confirmation of the connections with the Pakistanis and the United States, because that was made in the U.S. on the ammunition boxes. Anyway, and there was also a little bit peculiar, we thought, when the Indian army officers were saluting the West Pakistani officers, because many of them were old buddies from Sandhurst, as we understand, and they were just exchanging very polite salutes when they, met after that. Anyway, after that we came back to Calcutta, and the day of the surrender, the 16th of December, of course, '71, we were flown in by the Indian Air Force to Dhaka and landed at the bombarded airport and crawled out there. And the big celebration and jubilation and turmoil after the surrender, we arrived into that, and that was really fantastic to be part of. And the ceremony of the when they signed that they had lost the war, that was also so excited, everything about that. And I remember also there were also acts of taking revenge by people against collaborators. And there was one very awful scene out there. There was a Mukti Bahini who bayoneted some people to death in front of BBC cameras, I think. And that was very much discussions about that. We didn't film that because we thought it was, anyway, it was shown to the outside of the world, I think so, and there were lots of discussions about that. But we went to Intercontinental Hotel. That was the center, headquarters for everybody, and so we took shelter there and followed the events coming up. there was a Swedish colonel, his name is Sven Lampell, who was head of the International Red Cross. Then they operated Hotel Intercontinental as a war zone. It was, and that was, I think he was really a hero in a way in the final part of the war, and saved a lot of lives. And he has written a book about that, and I met him several times after that, because he helped me arrange to. I actually adopted a small boy here in December '71. We went to the Holy Family Hospital for making a film report, and there was a lot of small children, orphans, war children or whatever, and who had been, the parents had been killed during the bombardments. So I asked if I could adopt one of the small children, and so Sven Lampell, the Red Cross officer, he helped me with that. So when he returned back to Sweden in '72 in February on leave, he brought the boy with him. And that boy, we called him Joy. He was born on the 6th of December and then brought out. And now, of course, he lives in Sweden. He's over 40 years old, and we are very happy about that. Okay, that was a side story. But we followed the development in Dhaka the days after the surrender, and there was so much turmoil and jubilant people and very many human touch stories to make, so we did that continuously. But of course, the most important, what I can remember, is when we went out to the brickyard where the intellectuals were killed. That was what the first thing we heard of when we came. You must go out there. You have to report to the rest of the world about this. And so we went out there, and it was really terrible to see it. And people were walking around there crying and looking for relatives or whatever. And we did a film report about that. And what I remember, the most I remember from this is a very moving meeting I had with a young student, a lady who was standing at the water side there. And in the water there was a dead man. You could see his face floating in the water. And that was her professor. So she was standing there grieving. And we approached her, and I asked, I made an interview with her, and she described it. And in a nutshell, I think that piece of film we made was the sort of most important, in my opinion, because it was sort of symbolized the whole terrible situation of the oppression and the killing and everything. Well, of course, it was very difficult. There were no communications. You could not make any telephone calls. You couldn't send anything. So we went back to Sweden with material before Christmas, and had a special report on TV and shared that material. So that was shown shortly before Christmas. And people were really very upset about it, and then it created a lot of emotional responses when we showed that. And then we went back to Bangladesh to receive Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and that was not also a very special moment and event with millions of people almost on the streets and everything. So, and we went to. When Sheikh Mujibur arrived at the Hotel Intercontinental, everybody just wanted to meet him and talk to him, and the media was there, and everybody was, wanted to make interviews. But they said, no, you had to wait, because that famous Mr. David Frost is coming in, and he has a guarantee for having the exclusive first interview with Sheikh Mujibur. And we were waiting there in the lobby of the Intercontinental. I sneaked in by the. I had a few questions and answers with Sheikh, and he was smoking his pipe. I was just laughing about that when he said that his advisor said, you had to wait, Mr. Frost is coming, but he was just laughing and smoking his pipe. And I had a few questions and answers. And so that was sort of fun in a way. We worked together with the Red Cross a lot, and they had relief operations going on. We went up to a hospital outside, I think it's Mirpur Hospital, where they had a Scandinavian crew of doctors and nurses, and so we followed them. And we were also flying with Red Cross helicopter. That was a Danish transport system that came in with material, so we followed them. That was examples of how relief help came in from abroad, and so that's what we followed. We could see on the road the infrastructure was really badly damaged. The bridges were gone, so it was very difficult to go by car up to other places. You had to use very difficult ferries, the systems. I remember that. It was a little bit scary to go that way, but it worked. I think it's unique in a way, and I feel I have really not done so much about that. There are others who have done much better, but altogether I think it had an impact with the media coverage and all kinds of social work is coming in and all together. So yeah, I mean, if I in any way have participated in being or in the outcome of all this, I'm very happy about that, and of course very grateful and honored to be invited back here. And I think that's a great thing for the Bangladesh government to do this. It's really a good gesture towards the rest of the world, and which we very, very gladly give back to them.